I honestly really think that we go through things because we're supposed to share the experience, and we're supposed to be a representation of how you can come out of something. You don't have to let that be your circumstance for the rest of your life.
Hey, this is Raina Campbell, your Chief Dream Driver, and welcome to the No Parking Podcast, where through conversations and discussions with creators like yourself, we'll find interesting approaches to help you take your dreams out of park, put them in drive, and ride towards success. Hey Dream Drivers, welcome to episode 110 of the Dreams and Drive podcast. Today, our guest is Tiffini Gatlin, who's a former corporate bank executive turned entrepreneur and digital influencer. And Tiffini's taking us on her dream driving journey, which includes overcoming being abused as a child, losing her grandmother during a pivotal moment in her life, climbing the corporate ladder, and then finally taking the leap into entrepreneurship, which was a decision that came with many unforeseen hurdles and challenges. And there's one thing that I really loved about Tiffini's story, and which is why I call this podcast, When Life Gives You Lemons, What Are You Going to Make? There are going to be a lot of things during your life, during your dream driving journey that you think may be obstacles that you can't get over. But do not let those things become the things that hinder you from moving forward, right? Because you never know what's on the other side of that hurdle. And Tiffini's story is one that I really think you guys will resonate with. I know I did. I think one of the biggest things that she said is sometimes you have to learn how to rebuild what you once built. She talks about how she launched Lashed & Hook, which is a lifestyle and beauty brand that offers synthetic hair extensions and hair care products. But before Lashed & Hook, she launched another beauty brand. She helped grow that, and she had to part ways with that brand. But you'll hear that full story in the podcast. But it's just a testament to knowing that you may have to rebuild. You may have to start over, but that is all right. No matter what life serves you, it's up to you to make the most and keep moving towards success. A few reminders, our show notes are available in the notes section of whatever player you're listening in on and at dreamsanddrive.com. And if you enjoy this episode, which I hope you do, please make sure to share this with a friend. Screenshots and reposts are welcome on Instagram stories, Twitter, and Facebook are also highly encouraged. We are Dreams and Drive across the board, and make sure to use the hashtag Dreams and Drive. Hope you guys enjoy this one. Hi, Tiffini. Welcome to this episode of Dreams and Drive. I'm so excited to have you on.
Hi, Raina. Thank you so much. I am so excited to be here, and thank you so much for having me.
I am excited as well because, you know, we were talking before we got started about how I first heard your story at Christina Brown, who was actually episode 10 guest, her event, Brown Girls Love Power Day back in January. And I was just so motivated and so inspired by your story. I went on your Instagram, screenshotted you, and the universe aligned to make this interview happen today. So this is going to be great. I can already feel it. I love to start our interviews out with the same question. So our listeners who have been with us since day one know how this interview is going to start. Let's take a drive back in time, right? If I had to say who was Tiffini, the child, the 8-year-old, the 9-year-old, what would you say? What was inspiring you back then?
So when I was 8 years old, 8, 9, I was very timid, very shy. And I'm the oldest of, I have 2 younger sisters. I'm the oldest. I'm very independent, but, just kind of to myself, a little bit of a socialite, very talkative, in social settings like school, obviously, but very, to myself once I got home. And I think part of that came from the fact that I was in a abusive household when I was younger. So my stepfather mentally and physically abused me when I was younger. So I really kind of was very shy at home and stayed in my room a lot. And so when I got to school, that was just my time to turn up, be very social. You know, I had lots of friends in school, but when I came home, I was just very, very timid and very just to myself.
And if you don't mind me asking, was that something that eventually like stopped, or something that you were able to like figure out what it was? You know, when you're young, you may not know that's what was going on. Was it something that you realized later or during the time that it happened?
During the time that it happened, I mean, honestly, I felt that everything was my fault and that everything that I was doing caused me to basically get in trouble.
Mm-hmm.
And so I didn't associate that what was happening wasn't, not that I didn't know that it was right. I had a sense of like, this isn't right because I'm not doing anything to deserve it. But again, I was just kind of like, okay, Tiffini, if you were just better, if you would just do better, if you would, you know, do the things that he asked you to do them right, you won't have this, you know, this issue. And I was always striving to try to be perfect so that I wouldn't get in trouble. And it was just like nothing that I was doing was helping. And unfortunately, my mom, she didn't know anything about it. She worked nights, like 11 to 7. She was a nurse. And that's when the occurrences would happen. I didn't really understand, and really, you know, when I got older is when I, you know, kind of realized like, obviously this wasn't right. But how I ended up actually getting out of it was in elementary school in the, I think I was either 4th or 5th grade. I ended up actually writing a letter to my teacher. Ironically, we were talking about abuse in class. And the teacher put me in charge of checking this box that we had. And the box was for anybody who had questions in regards to abuse, could write a letter. If you didn't want to talk about it openly in class, you could write a letter, you could put it in the box. And my job in the class was to check the box and let the teacher know if there were any letters. And the way that I was able to kind of express myself throughout my younger years was through writing. Mm-hmm. And so I write very vivid, you know, letters and stories that were just very creative. And my teachers were just so wowed by the fact that this 4th and 5th grader could just write so expressively. And so I ended up writing, ironically, about an occurrence that happened the night before. And I was vividly explaining to her how I was feeling and how my mom wasn't there. And, you know, this particular night I was getting hit with a belt on my back. And I remember looking at the wall and I saw, you know, all this red stuff on the wall, which I associated with blood. And so I wrote this letter, put it in the box, went to art. We were going to art class. I remember it like it was yesterday. And I told the teacher, I said, hey, there's a letter in the box. And she was just kind of like, okay, like just had this discussion. I already have a letter. And then she came and got me from art class. And she asked me if the letter was me, if the actions and the person that was in the letter was actually me. And I just broke down, started crying and told her it was. And that began the segue of me actually getting out of that situation and my mom and all of that. And so it was actually a blessing that all of that happened the way it did, and that I was a creative writer at that time and was able to express myself through writing. And I'll never forget that teacher who, you know, basically helped me get out of that situation and kind of into a more safe environment.
And that is a testament. And well, first of all, I want to say thank you for sharing, because I didn't even realize, we were going to start our interview with such a powerful setting. Yeah. I think that goes to show like how our gifts from a very early age are given to us to save us and protect us in some ways. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like, as you were saying, that ability to express yourself, like, let's say you were not able to express yourself, who knows what, could have continued on for however long. But thinking about it now and reflecting, who you became, how Tiffini evolved from those moments, what do you think was like the biggest thing that you learned, or the biggest way you were impacted from that experience, and how that played out like later on in your life?
I believe what I can say now at this point in my life, what it taught me was to forgive. My mom, not frequently, but she doesn't forgive that situation. And she doesn't understand how I can forgive and move on. But, what I explain is that harboring those feelings and not being able to let it go only hurts me, And what I realized as I got older was that, man, what happened to him? Like, something happened to him to make him think that was okay to do that to a child. You know what I mean? So the first time I actually saw him, since I was 12 years old, this past Christmas, and I actually went to his home and had dinner in his home. That was a big,
by yourself?
Big. No, not by myself. Okay. I went with my family, and he's the father of my two younger sisters.
Okay.
And that was a giant step. It was probably one of the best things I've done, though, because I was able to, without verbalizing it, letting him know that I forgive you. You know what I mean? Like, I didn't say it to him, but the fact that I was there, to me, should express that I forgive you. The fact that I was able to hug you, the fact that, you know what I mean? And to basically say, like, I'm successful. Like, I didn't let what happened to me lead me down a different road that it could have. You know what I mean? Like, there's so many things that could have been plagued over my life had I let it, but I decided to choose a different route, which is, another testament to anybody who's dealt with this situation, that you don't have to be a product of what has happened to you. You can choose another route. You know what I mean? Some would say, like, oh, she's growing up in a single family home, and, she's, because she didn't have a father, she's this way because she didn't have, the right type of representation in her household as from a man, or, she, is going to have problems trusting men, and, all these things that people, these labels or whatever people place on you when you face adversity. I'm able to say that, that didn't happen. I was able to definitely define my own path, and I didn't let my past situations and circumstances define me, define my future. So yeah, I understand where you're coming from.
And that's character building from a very young age. That's something, like, you may not have known what strength you were building at that point, but I'm definitely sure that has played out in your life. So you went to Clark Atlanta, right? You majored in public relations. What was the dream going into college? Like, who did you think Tiffini was going to be once you got that diploma?
I definitely thought Tiffini was going to be an entertainment attorney. So I went to college knowing that I was going to go to law school to be an entertainment attorney. But how I ended up in public relations was actually really weird, because initially my major was radio, TV, film, because I thought, hey, you want to be an entertainment attorney, you should, kind of know what your clients do in radio, TV, film, right? And so I went to go speak to an advisor because I was taking these radio, TV, film classes, but I'm like, I don't want to be an actress. I don't want to, I don't want to necessarily be in front of the camera or anything like that. So I'm like, is this the right track? And so I went to go speak with a counselor, and the counselor advised public relations. And I'm like, what? Like, what is people? I didn't even know what public relations was. Like, what is that? And why do I want to take public relations? And she convinced me that PR was the right route to go, and understanding how to deal with clients from a crisis management standpoint, and being able to navigate through those different scenarios. And so I ended up taking PR. As I'm going, I'm still like, I don't know. But I did pick up some entertainment law courses and some other, communications law and entertainment law classes. And so I just kind of stuck with it. And like you said previously, you just never know the reason why a particular track is chosen for you. As I'm sure we'll touch on later, it turns out that PR was pretty much a great thing for me, a good option, a good choice. So yeah, I loved my experience at CAU. We definitely pump out some great talent from CAU.
So I'm guessing you never went to law school.
So no.
Why not? Like, did you graduate and you were like, law really isn't what I want anymore?
No. It didn't happen like that. So basically, I knew 100% I was going to law school. I ended up studying for the LSAT, I guess my junior year in college. I took a Kaplan class and I began studying. And I ended up seeing my grandmother in my junior year of college. And it pretty much devastated me because she was the foundation to everything in my life. And the reason why I was able to pretty much continue on, she really held me up. And that I was actually on a trip in Jamaica with my roommate and got the news when I got back into the States that she had passed. And so I had to go from Philadelphia and I had to forfeit my plane ticket and I had to take a Greyhound to Ohio to my grandmother's funeral. And that pretty much devastated me. And I think from then I just wasn't focused. So I wasn't able to really concentrate on I ended up taking the LSAT, but I didn't do well to actually get into the school that I wanted to get into. And I didn't want to take it again because once if you take it twice, they average your scores and I didn't want that. And so here I was, this clerk at Kroger grocery store in Buckhead in Atlanta at what they call the Disco Kroger. And I was like, oh my God, this is about to be my life. I'm about to work at Kroger. You
already had your degree at this point?
No, I was about to graduate.
Okay.
And I was I had worked my way through college. So I ended up, when I touched down at Clark's campus and my mom dropped me off, she went straight to the RA's office and said, my child has to work and she will not make curfew. So she will be in after 10 o'clock every night because she has to work. So I worked from the time I got to CAU campus because if I didn't work, I was coming back home. Mm-hmm. So I worked my whole 4 years of college. And so between Home Depot and Kroger, those were my two jobs. I ended up leaving Home Depot and going back to Kroger's. And so I was about to graduate and I ended up working my way up to the customer service department at Kroger. So I went from a cashier to a customer service department and I'm about to graduate. I didn't do well on my LSAT and I have no plan B. I honestly knew that I shouldn't have taken the LSAT because I really wasn't in the right headspace to do it. I knew that I hadn't been studying and putting in the effort to really do it. Like I said, I didn't have a plan B and it was like, girl, you got to go to law school because you don't have you have nothing and you don't want to go back home. So you need to go ahead and take this LSAT and do the best you can and hope for the best. Well, I took it, but my scores were terrible. And I didn't want to take it again. In my head, I knew I really wasn't ready and I really just didn't feel like studying again for it. So it was like, girl, you going to be customer service, winning the customer service award at Kroger because you about to get life taking returns from customers on eggs or something. So, there happened to be a bank inside of the Kroger and the manager would come over and she said, Tiffini, she said, you are so good. You're so professional. Have you ever thought about working for the bank? And I said, no. I was actually supposed to be going to law school. And, you know, I'm still in my millennial stuck up, you know, no, I'm not working for the bank. But at this point, I'm working for Kroger. So, you know. She's like, okay, well, if you ever think about working for the bank, definitely let me know. You know, I'd love to help you out. And so the more and more I thought about it, I'm like, okay, well, you can continue making, I don't know, I was probably making like, I don't know, $8 an hour, or you can maybe try to see if there's a career for you in the bank. So I took her up on her offer. I ended up interviewing and got hired on the spot. I tried to do the whole 2-week notice thing, but I said, you know what, bump it. Let me just get this career going. And so technically, once I graduated, a couple months after I graduated, I actually started my career in banking.
Did you enjoy it, the career in banking? Like, what were some of the highlights of, you worked at Bank of America, right?
I did work at Bank of America for almost a decade. And I did enjoy my corporate experience because it taught me what I needed to know to be a professional. It really laid the groundwork to learning how to work with different types of people. It gave me the foundation, the management skill foundation. It really helped me to understand how to manage money. I bought my first home when I was 23.
What?
Yeah. And I also ended up having a baby a year after I graduated from college. So, I guess I gave birth, and then I moved into a new home literally like 3 months after I gave birth. So I had a new baby, I had a new home, and I had a new career a year after graduating out of college.
Look at that. Look at that sunshine coming from the rain, right?
Exactly. The woman who hired me at Bank of America, she hired me on to be her branch manager. I didn't know at that point when she was hiring me, but she was very influential within Bank of America Corporation. And again, fresh out of college, I'm coming in like a little teeny bopper. You know, my shape is on 100, and you know, I'm coming in, you know, cute little top skirts, fishnet stockings, fishnet. Okay, and I think I'm cute. You know, I'm cute. And, you know, customers will come in, they ask for the manager. I'm one of the managers. They're looking at me like, girl, please, you nobody's manager. And I wasn't really getting the respect from, you know, employees, from customers, because I was young. I was in my 20s, my early 20s. And so one day she pulled me into her office. She closed the door and she said, look, from this day on, you are to wear a suit coat when you come to work. And she told me never wear fishnets again. And she gave me 4 suit jackets in different colors as a starter pack. It changed something about just wearing a suit, just changed my mindset. It changed. She also just gave me some additional tips on how to succeed in my career. And in less than 2 years, you know, I was moving strategically around the bank. I ended up becoming one of the youngest assistant vice presidents within the company. So people who had been there 15, 20 years looking at me like, how is this girl in her 20s coming into the bank, moving up so fast, less than 2 years? How is she doing that? And I was just staying focused. I didn't click up with people. You know, when I went to my manager meetings, I sat in the front. I would volunteer to do things that nobody else would do. I spoke up. I asked questions. So it was, you know, it really just taught me a lot. And I'm just really grateful for that experience. And then when the time kind of expired, then that's when I kind of moved into entrepreneurship.
That's such a good segue, because I wanted to ask you, what was the impetus that really started making you think, hey, I could run my own company? I
never knew, you know, when I was younger, obviously, I didn't know what an entrepreneur was. I don't recall ever hearing that name. But when I was 16 years old, there was a lady in the neighborhood by the name of Miss Gloria. And she was the that you went to when you wanted to get hair braided. Everybody would go and book Miss Gloria. And so one day I booked her, went to go get my hair braided. And she said, "Sweetie, do you know any young girls in the community that would want to learn how to braid?" And I said, "Ma'am, but I don't know anyone, but I'd be willing to learn." She's like, "Okay, I need you to come to my house every weekend. I'm going to teach you." So I would walk about a mile to her house on Saturdays, and she would allow me to braid her customers' hair. And she would show me technique until I got it right, booking my own clients. Wow. I didn't know that was an entrepreneur. That was my side hustle. You could say that I became an entrepreneur at 16, and I was also paying my mother to use her basement. So
she was renting you space in the house.
She didn't play. I would give her money to be able to use her basement to braid my clients' hair, and people would page me, beat me when they wanted their hair done, and so then I became the little, the neighborhood.
You were the connect. You were like the braiding connect.
I was the plug. I guess it's been in me for a very, very long time. And so when I finally realized that Bank of America, for me, I had reached my high point there, and I wanted to move on. It came to the point where I was literally getting sick to my stomach to go to work. I wasn't happy. I wanted more. I felt like my creativity was being stifled. I just didn't enjoy what I was doing anymore, and I had to get out of there. And so in my mind, I created this business that I could start this concierge service. So it was the Atlanta Go-To Girl. And so I somehow convinced my husband that please let me leave my job, despite the fact that we live in a home that requires 2 incomes. Mm-hmm. Please let me leave my job. I'm going to start this concierge service, and, I'm going to service local Atlanta celebrities, and I'm going to, do everything that they don't have time to do. And, my vision was just so big. I was thinking that it was going to be, I don't know if you've ever heard of Instacart. That was kind of back then, that's what I was thinking of, but I didn't really have the framework, or I didn't necessarily plan it out to be able for it to be successful. I was just kind of flying by the seat of my pants. I'm like, oh, I'll do it. I can do it. I'm just going to quit and I'll figure out the rest later. And I ended up taking my 401k and living off my 401k and the savings that I had. And I had some CDs and such, and some money market savings. And
you definitely learned a lot at Bank of America when it came to money management.
Absolutely did. Mm-hmm. And so, looking at it at that point, I'm like, oh, I've got enough that I could, we could live off of this for, at least 3.5 years. But I didn't realize how fast that goes. I didn't factor in the mortgages. And
you had more than one kid too at this point?
Yes, 2 kids at this point. I'm like, I have, mortgage and daycare and car notes. And so I ended up selling my luxury vehicle. And we just ended up keeping one. And then I had a family member who ended up giving me their vehicle. So I ended up having a car with no car note, which I actually still have today. And I still drive that car today. I just started minimizing my debts and just living off of what we needed versus, just kind of going over and beyond. And I knew that could help to alleviate some of the, the stress of figuring out how to get money. Because really, I was making pennies.
At Atlanta Go-To Girl.
I was making pennies, okay? And I had to figure out really quickly how to supplement my income, because my husband was looking at me like, yo, this money that we had, because, in the beginning, it's like, you feel like, okay, we're set, our accounts are, they're looking nice. But that money was just going so fast, just paying all of our bills. I just didn't realize how fast the money was going. So I had to become resourceful. And I think one thing I learned along the way is that, damn, you are very resourceful. When you are in a pinch and you need to figure out how to make some change, you know how to make $1 house. I entered into the blogging world. Mm-hmm. And that's when I kind of started realizing my value as it pertained to social media and creativity. I actually spun the Atlanta Go-To Girl into my personality, my blog. So for years, I was the ATL Go-To Girl. And that was my social media handles. That's what I blogged under. And so I spun that into my blog, and I started writing about what to do in and around Atlanta. And I became known as the person that was going to, hip you to what was going on. I was going to give you the behind the scenes of all the A-list events that was going on that nobody else could get into, that was invite only. And so that's kind of how I kind of built up my social status, if you will.
Were you making money as an influencer at this point?
No. I was just doing it. Nobody was asking me to do it. I was just doing it. And then at some point I started getting invitations to come to things. I started getting invited to, review things and trips and all of that. I didn't even know what a blogger was. I didn't, when you're in a corporate bubble, you're like, when you come out of that, you're just getting hip to what's going on in life. And so I'm like, okay, what is it? What is a blog? I had to Google it. What is a blog? What do you do? And how do you make money? And so I was, still trying to figure out the monetization part of blogging, but I knew that I had to get my influence up because people would not care about what I wrote. I didn't think if I didn't build some type of social influence behind my name, some type of credibility.
So how did you build that influence?
I started with Twitter, actually, and it was very weird. I can remember the day that I actually started Twitter, and I started socializing a personality here in Atlanta. And I said, oh, wow, you can actually talk to people and they can just talk back to you. This is really cool. And so I just, I didn't know if anybody was out there. It's like me tapping the mic, like, hello, is this thing on? Twitter was my jam. And I was on that thing during the day and the evening. I was just addicted. And that I built up social influence. First, local celebrity to do some work for when I had the Atlanta Go-To Girl concierge, and did some work for her. And she ended up tweeting about me. And so she ended up tweeting about me. And that was just kind of like the start of, okay, who is this girl? She's talking about her. She must be, somebody credible. And so it really helped to, kind of push me forward, and people started kind of listening to what I was saying. Social media just became very interesting to me. And it amazed me how much influence a person could have just by using this tool. Again, like I said, I was in corporate all this time, so I didn't have knowledge of this. I wasn't on Facebook at this time. I really wasn't brought up to speed to all of this new social, media stuff. And so I was really intrigued and really interested in how this was working and how I was able to get a message across, in a very, very few characters.
Did you ever, during this point, when did you start to see that there was a market and opportunity to launch a hair business? Because I know you ended up starting Curlkalon with a partner, and we can talk about that story. Did you start to see something specifically within the hair industry that you said, there's space for me to innovate?
I didn't start to see that there was opportunity in the hair industry until the end of 2014. I never, ever thought that I would have a hair business or a beauty business.
Because you want to be a lawyer.
At best, I thought that I may dab a little bit in doing hair on the side, because that's what that's where I came from. That's where my side hustle started from, was doing braids. So I said, at best, I could see myself going back to braiding, to earn money, which is what I actually ended up doing. Like I told you, I started blogging, but it wasn't, I didn't understand how to totally monetize off of blogging. And until I could figure it out, I needed to make money quickly. So I did start to do hair on the side as a side hustle, because that's what I knew I was good at. And I knew that I couldn't fail because I had been doing it for so long. It was like riding a bike. Where the hair business came in at was by me doing hair on the side. And at this point, I started getting into Instagram. So now I've moved from Twitter to Instagram. And I loved Instagram so much better because I love the visual part of Instagram. And I am a creative. So I like visual. I like pretty pictures. And that's what drew me to Instagram. So it was a place that I could display my work, the styles that I was creating, whether it be on myself or a client, or a friend or my daughter. It was free. So I'm like, wait a minute. So I can do this and it's free and people can like it. And then I can also put in how they can contact me. Okay. So I really started, capitalizing off of that. And then at this point, because of the relationships that I was making in the blogging world, I began to, get tips on how to monetize my blog. So at this point, I'm understanding how to monetize, how to get money from different brands, how to pitch my ideas. And so in 2014, one of the things I was when I was on Instagram, I was seeing that the crochet styles were coming back. And I'm like, man, this is an old school style. We used to do this back in the 90s. Mm-hmm. And so it was nothing new about the technique, but what was new was the hair they were using the rolling the hair and the dipping it in hot water and getting this rod hairstyle. I'm like, okay, let me try this. And so, I did it on myself and, posted some pictures showing my Instagram. And let me tell you, when I go back to look at those pictures on Instagram, I'm like, this was terrible. I was hyping me up on Instagram telling me that my hair was cute. It looked a hot mess. But I started doing other people's hair and posting on Instagram and Facebook. But what I was realizing, because, mind you, I still have a business mind. I still, I still deal with money and all of that. And so what I was realizing is that this process was taking so long. And on top of it taking long, it was dangerous. So I'm dipping my head in boiling hot water, hoping that these curls form and set, and hoping that when I'm flicking my wrist and twisting, this hair around these rods, that it's curls gonna come out right. And then I gotta dip my head in hot water. Like, this is crazy. This is for the birds. Like, beauty should not hurt. And so for me, what I started thinking is, how in the world can I increase my earning potential? And not just my earnings potential. I mean, other stylists have to have the same question. Like, 2 hours to brush out this kinky synthetic hair and roll it around these rods in hot water. My earning potential is very low. That means, like, I may be able to get 2 people in one day. No, that's not going to work. So how can I increase my earning potential? And then how can I make the process safe? But even thinking about that, I never thought about at that point, I'm going to start mass producing this product. It just didn't get that far at that point. But I definitely thought there has to be a better way.
So how did you end up, I guess, getting to the point where you thought about mass producing it and making a company from it?
Just after seeing how the style was growing on social media. There was hundreds of thousands of posts at this point on Instagram. So I'm using my social influence. I'm looking at the hashtags. I'm like, whoa, there's like 100,000 posts under the hashtag crochet braids. All of these women are rolling and dipping. I go into the beauty supply store. There's no crochet, nothing.
This is 2014, because in my head, I'm like, oh my God, these crochet, braids that are pre-made have been around forever, but it really wasn't. Because I was never into crochet braids, so I don't know. No,
it wasn't. Prior to 2000, I'm going to say 2015, because that's when it actually was marketed for mass production. There was no brand out there that sold pre-curled, not only pre-curled and looped crochet hair, but crochet nothing. There was no crochet twists. There was no crochet braids. There definitely was no crochet locks. Nothing on the market that said crochet anything, which is amazing to me. Cause I'm just like, okay, we're all doing it, and you would think that, there was nothing. Okay. So my first initial idea was to create a kiosk inside the mall and to do crochet braids in the middle of the mall. That idea got quickly shut down. I called the malls and they were like, ma'am, no. You're not going to be doing nobody's crochet braids in the middle of the mall. You can get you an interior space, and you can talk to one of our talk to our management office and see if there's any retail space available. If you want to purchase a retail establishment, that could be possible. And I didn't understand that, because I'm like, okay, well, you guys are flat ironing hair in the middle of the mall. Why can't I crochet hair in the middle of the mall? Isn't it the same thing? But they weren't going for that. So I'm like, okay. And so then that's when I thought, okay, I need to figure out how to make this hair. That's really how the process started. And, the hunt was on for finding how to make this a reality.
I'm going to do my version from my research. You had a partner, you ended up launching Curlkalon with a partner, and eventually you guys were able to build this company up, and you made over $250,000 in a short amount of time, right? What was the biggest thing you think, just within having the idea for the company, researching, getting it out to market? What do you think were some of the biggest lessons you learned during just building and getting the concept out to customers?
The biggest lesson learned is that when you have an idea for something, no matter how crazy it seems, it sounds, you should treat that idea as if it is $1 million idea, and you should do what you to do to protect your idea. So the biggest lesson was just slowing down, really, slowing down and making sure you have processes in place so that in the event that you grow and you do get to the point where you have a $1 million business, things are in place and in order so that things can continue to run as they need to run.
Because you ended up, I know, people can definitely, if they want to hear, I know you done an interview before we talk about this more in detail, but the partnership ended up not working out, and you guys had to go your separate ways. You decided to launch another hair company, right? Why did you make that decision, and how did you feel? Did you feel like you could still build a company that had very similar offerings?
I started Lashed and Hooked because it was the vision that I initially had was I was to do more with it. It never was supposed to be just curls. When you're an entrepreneur and you start a business, most entrepreneurs who start businesses create businesses out of a need, a void. When I started my first company, my first beauty company, I started that company because I had an issue with burning my client. I did not want to burn my clients. I was doing hair. For me, it was, Tiffini, you have to solve the problem and come up with a solution so that other women who are doing similar styles, whether you're doing it, you're a DIYer and you do it at home yourself, or whether you're a stylist, most stylists didn't even want to deal with it because they were like, you know what, the license that we have, the way it's set up, we're not trying to have people sue us for hot water burns. There was a problem, with women getting hot water burns. So for me, it was solving a problem. It was also trying to figure out how to increase the earning potential, because there was no way that I could spend 2-3 hours combing and rolling and dipping hair and then have to spend another 2 hours doing the style. I was in the thick of it. I was doing it, So that's how the idea came about, because I was already doing it. And I'm like, okay, there has to be a better way, Now, again, like I said, the idea of crochet is not new. You can go on Instagram and go as far back as, 2010, 2012, maybe, and you'll see women all day with crochet. Mm-hmm. So I didn't start the idea of crochet braids. What I started was the ease and the convenience of being able to have this product already done for you. So one, you can make more money if you're a stylist and you're doing this, for clients, because you don't have to do it. You don't have to roll it yourself. And then two, you don't have to burn yourself. So it's safe. And the other part was the chemicals that was in the hair. So for me, I had a lot of people that I knew who were allergic to the product because of the chemical that was on the product. So for me, it was like, okay, how can I make a product that didn't have the chemical on there? Again, these are things that you don't know unless you're actually in the thick of it and you're actually doing it. I'm not talking about just doing it on your own hair. I'm talking about you have repeated customers and clients that you're doing this on. So the more you do this, the more ideas that you have that come in your head. So for me, it was always about, okay, we can start with the curls, then we can do twists, and we can do braids, it's that. So yes. So it was always a progression, of more products. So Lash the Hook for me was just an opportunity for me to expand the vision that I had originally had.
Was it hard to actually find a manufacturer who could do this for you? And at this point, were you starting to see other competitors just within like the Asian beauty sector? Because I know they dominate the hair industry right now. Like, was it just hard to kind of find your niche and get in these spaces with these people who were actually producing and making the hair?
It wasn't hard to get in this space. Initially, basically a liaison was hired. So a Chinese speaking, Asian speaking contractor was hired to help find the manufacturer. The communication is a lot easier. And again, with technology, with, WhatsApp and social media, the communication makes it a lot easier to be able to communicate with manufacturers overseas. So it wasn't hard to actually get in. And I think they did not even pay us any attention. They didn't think we really had anything going on. So I'm actually surprised that it's taken them this long. But they have started to recreate the product. So, it's kind of flattering in one sense because it's like, whoa. So I actually created something that they want bad enough that they're now copying my patented design.
I was going to ask you about that. Like, what kind of protections did you make or do you have in place in order to, I don't know if there's a way to put a check on it, but just to protect yourself down the line if it gets out of control with their like actual, if they're like copying designs or other stuff.
The curl is copied and, the design is patented. Louis Vuitton and Gucci and every luxury designer has been reproduced, right? Mm-hmm. And, at some point it's kind of like, do you want to spend your money chasing, all of brands, to shut down, or do you spend the money to, pump into your company just to make it greater? Now there's a limit and a line that has to be drawn, and which is why it's really important, which I spoke earlier about making sure that you have the right people in place who can handle those things for you. A little unproductive to try to chase folks down and, and sue everybody. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? I think the bigger goal is making sure that consumers understand your brand. They understand your unique proposition. They understand the value that they're getting from the product that they're purchasing from. And that's what focus is on. I'm not, I can't say when I first saw it, I was like, damn, I'm going to really focus on making sure that the consumer is purchasing from me far more than just purchasing a curl mm-hmm. or a twist, or, that they're really buying into my brand. That means a lot more to me than just buying a product, because people will flip flop on you in a minute,
Yep. If it's cheaper, if it's, all that other stuff.
Yeah. But then you have those people who are loyal. They're like, I'm not buying anything else but this. My customers know that if they have a problem with their product, that there's somebody that they can talk to, that there's somebody that they can go to and they can get answers, that there's somebody's going to have compassion about them having alopecia, that there's going to be somebody, that's, just compassionate about the fact that, hey, I have this important event and I really need this hair fast. And I know that, you guys don't deliver on Saturday, but is there any way, know that we understand, because guess what? I'm a woman too. And I know, we have issues about our hair. It's serious.
Was this where your public relations background came in and all that marketing and branding stuff that you might have been taking in college came into play?
Right now, I think it just comes down to just good old fashioned ethics and, that kind of adage where it's like, do unto others that, you would want them to do for you. You know what mm-hmm. I mean? My background, my PR background, communications, where that came in handy was, being able to know how to pitch the media when I didn't have a publicist, knowing how to write all of the copy for both of my websites, being able to forge relationships and understand how to keep the relationship going so it wasn't just a one and done. Mm-hmm. How to speak in front of, an audience, just those technical things, that formal training helped with those aspects,
What was something that you had to learn the hard way with growing Lash and Hook, like a challenge that was really tough for you to work through, but you were able to?
I think initially the challenge was being able to set my identity apart from my first beauty brand. Is this a sister company? Is this the same company? Or, people thinking that I stole an idea or, I'm copying. Like, no, I'm actually the original. I
created that.
No, that would be no. And not in a cocky way, but, people don't know. People only know what you tell them or what someone else tells them. And that's why, I appreciate platforms such as yours and others who allow me to be able to, to set the record straight. Like, no, actually, this is, what it is. It was tough, I think, in the I'd say probably the first 6 years. We're going, on year 2, May of 2018 will be year 2 for Latched and Hooked. And I think, again, like I said, for the first 6 months, it was just really about creating, standing on our own 2 feet with Latched and Hooked. I think that we have done that now. I think that Latched and Hooked speaks for itself. It also tells a story without telling a story. How I was able to rebuild what I once built before. And I think it's just a testament to anybody. If you're in a situation where you have to rebuild, you can do it. If you've done it once, you can do it again. You have the blueprint to build what you need to build. You know what I mean? And like I said, my vision was always to take back the culture that is ours. There isn't anybody else that is an authority in synthetic hair extensions that I know of. Mm-hmm. And I'm happy to take that space and educate on how to wear synthetic hair, how to take care of your hair while wearing synthetic hair. I think it's amazing that brands are now coming out with products that aid consumers in maintaining their hair while wearing a protective style, because truth be told, many women did not wash their hair, cleanse their scalp while wearing a protective style because they thought they'd mess up their style. Mm-hmm. Because there was no real conversation about how to do it.
And what I think is also very inspiring, just from someone who talks to a lot of entrepreneurs and just kind of is a student of the space, is to have you be the owner of this too, right? To see another Black woman actually owning it. And it's not like you're a hired ambassador for, right? Like, you are the authority. And I think that's something that's very inspirational and motivating to a lot of us listening in.
I really thought that it was so wild that no one that I know of has really taken Asian community on to say, no, I'm going to take back our culture. I thought that was wild. We're buying products that have harsh chemicals on them. We don't know what the chemicals are and what they do to our bodies when we're attaching it to our scalps. They're using Black faces to market their product to us and trying to make it seem like, there are Black owners. No, it's time. You have to stop.
We started this interview talking about the, theme of forgiveness. And I don't know, and if it's too early to talk about this, or maybe you haven't thought about it yet, just being with like a blessing coming out of something that may at one point may have caused you a lot of stress, right? Do you forgive your former partner for like kind of the events that happened and you branching off?
I think removing distractions is important. Mm-hmm. Eliminating distractions is important. So that whole thing is a distraction for me. Mm-hmm. And so I put my energy now into building, creating, because going backwards stifles my creativity. It's just moving forward. I think that a time and place for forgiveness. And I think that a person rightfully has the right to grieve and to get through whatever they need to get through in their time. Mm-hmm. And forgiveness will come. Like, I didn't forgive my stepfather the next year, mm-hmm. It happened, I'm in my late 30s now. And I'm just like literally maybe, 6-8 years ago, getting to the point where I'm like, I forgive. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And it feels good to be at that place. But a lot of it, honestly, I had blocked it out because I realized that if I continue to focus on it, I can't move forward. Yeah. So I think that it would have been harder for me to move forward from that situation with my stepfather had I continuously thought about it. Yeah, it's kind of like I put it in a little compartment and said, okay, I'm not going to forget about you, but I'm going to sit you here right now. Right, I got to keep moving. And that's where I'm at right now. Like I'm just eliminating distractions right now, and I'm not going to forget about it. I know that I have to come back to it. But right now, it's just not the time. Mm-hmm. I don't have to focus on that. And the great thing about it is I get to decide when I want to come back to it and deal with it. But for right now, I'm unbothered, and I'm focusing on being creative and building the best business for myself and my consumers.
And thinking about Latch and Hook and the successes that you've had over the past year, what do you think have been like your top 3 things that have really helped you scale the company? And think about our fellow dream drivers that are listening in who may have their own products or who are maybe trying to take their own brands from, ground zero to the 25th floor. Like, what are some key, like, top 3 things you think every, like, aspiring entrepreneur, e-commerce entrepreneur really needs to understand?
This day and age, social media is really big. So, if you have a product, obviously being able to have a platform, at least one platform that you're consistent with, you are able to effectively communicate the message about your product on a social media stream. I think that's key. I could not have gotten where I am today, Latch and Hook, and with my first beauty company, had it not been for the relationships that I had with people, bloggers, other influencers, friends. Because when I put out there that I was starting something, people helped me spread the message, whether it was them, allowing me to use them as a model for hair, and then go on their social media and say, oh, this is, such and such. My reputation is so, means so much to me. So, and I think that people know what type of person that I am and feel comfortable knowing that, everything that I've done in my career, corporate wise, as well as entrepreneur wise, and know that, I do what I say I'm going to do, and the things that I do are quality. So they're willing to put their own brands on Front Street. So I think a lot of times people think about relationships. So, I would urge entrepreneurs to not forget about your relationships, no matter where you are in your scaling your business. You never know who you're going to have to reach back to and ask to help you do something. Lastly, again, I'm just going to keep saying this, is just making sure that you have good advisors, mentors, professionals, just advisors around you. Because to be able to scale a business, a lot of times entrepreneurs, we are guilty of making decisions and based on our feelings. And we're very emotional with our business. And sometimes the decisions that we make are not the best decisions for our company. And so it helps to have a group of advisors or mentors around you that you can bounce things off of and say, hey, I was thinking about doing this. What do you think? Ask someone who has experience can really help you dodge a bullet. Yes.
Because there will be bullets coming for you, right? There'll be bullets you don't know about, bullets you know about, and you're trying to plan on how to dodge them. Lots of different types of bullets.
Yeah. And I think that had I asked more questions of people and said, hey, I'm thinking about doing this, or I have this idea and this is the way I'm thinking about approaching it. What do you think? Somebody would have probably stopped me and said, girl, I don't know. Did you do A, B, C, and D before you decided to go, do this? And it would have made me think a little bit more. But, because I was making decisions based on feelings in my heart and my emotions at that time, I just went full speed ahead without kind of stop, drop, and wait. What I'm realizing now that the good, the bad, the ugly, they all have to happen because they're preparing you for something bigger.
Yeah. And I think that's been a common theme through our conversation, right?
Everything that has happened in my life, and I know that I've told some tragic things, but there also have been some amazing, not some, but some really, really outstanding, amazing things in my life as well. But all of those things have prepared me for something else. So I'm just like, he must be preparing me for something real good. It must be something real good.
How do you balance it all, Tiffini?
I don't balance. I prioritize. Balancing is just something that I let go a long time ago because I just wasn't getting it right. And so what I finally came to realize that, girl, stop trying to balance and just prioritize your life. And what I came to realize is that some things are going to fail. There are some days where my business, takes priority. And, I have to let my husband know, like, listen, I really need you to pick up dinner. I really need you to get the kids ready for bed and, whatever, because I need to focus on this and I can't be disturbed. And then on the flip side of that, there are times where I just have to put my business down and I have to go to Disney World for a week with my family, with no laptop and no access to business. It's prioritizing.
So as we wind down, just for our for our entrepreneurs who are listening in, do you have any favorite business tools, resources that you want to share with our dream drivers?
Oh yeah. So my favorite tool specifically for Instagram is called Schedulegram. And I love Schedulegram because it was one of the first apps that would allow you to manage your social media, and it'll actually post it to your social media for you.
Wait, for Instagram, there's one that does that?
Yeah. Schedulegram does that. There is a fee, but honey, it's worth the fee to plug all pictures in, your captions in, tell it what time you want it to post, and you walk away and it does it for you. What?
And invest, right? And we have to invest in our businesses too. I feel a lot of us people don't want to invest in the tools that will help make things easier. So invest, people. Check it out.
Yeah. Canva is another tool that I really love. And I'm sure a lot of business owners are using it, but when you can't afford to pay a graphic designer at the moment, something really fast that you need to do, Canva is a great tool to use. The last tool is, I would say, my Facebook Manager. That's how I keep track of all of my Facebook and Instagram ads. Mm-hmm. And so I have the app on my phone, and it allows me to look at the insights on how my ads are doing on Facebook and Instagram. It allows me to make changes. If I see something's not working and I want to change the text or what have you. It's just, I think a lot of my apps are just, if it's on the go and it allows me to do things while I'm on the go, it's a keeper. Mm-hmm. So I think those work for me.
And are you doing everything by yourself now, or do you have a team in place that really helps you run the business as well?
My core team, Brianna, oh my gosh, Brianna has been with me through almost I got her from Curlkalon University when she was a student. She was an intern of mine when I had my magazine. And she's been with me through every business I started. And she is such a jewel, and I actually just hired her full time. And so she is now my new operations manager. And so now I can do this by myself. But I have a lot of contractors, but she's my main employee. But yeah, I take no credit for doing this by myself. The ideas that I have, I just have some amazing people that work with me, that believe in me, and that help me fuel this business. So shout out to Brianna, Monica, Jay, Kiara. I could keep going. I just love the fact that, and they're all women. I just thought about
yes,
that. All women,
female representation, right?
Representation, girl power, and so yeah, so I love it. And even my photographer, she's a woman. And a lot of the businesses that I sell other products, accessories and other maintenance products on my site, and they are all owned by Black women.
So let's segue into our lightning round, Tiffini. At this point of the interview, I'm going to give you a prompt, and I want you to tell me the first thing that comes to mind. And remember, we're sticking with our whole dreams and drive metaphor, okay? So the first word is park.
Slow down.
Reverse.
Don't look back.
Neutral.
Take it easy.
Drive.
Go, girl, go.
Oh, I like that. I like that. And if you want to be a dream driver, you have to have your keys to success. So tell me 3 things that you think every dream driver needs in their toolkit before they hit the road.
They need a plan.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you don't have a plan, you don't know where you're going. You need to be, what's the other thing? You need to be tenacious. You can't give up. So you need to be someone that can overcome obstacles because they're definitely going to come in your way. You need good people around you because you're not going to be able to do it by yourself.
I love those. Having a plan, being tenacious, and surrounding yourself with good people. And just thinking about the theme of our show, I think a nice way to end, Tiffini, is if, I had to ask you, what does being a dream driver mean to you? How would you respond?
A dream driver to me means that you are in tune with your passion and your goals, and you are not only motivated to get to your destination, you pull people along with you to help them realize their dreams as well. So basically you inspire along the way, being able to recognize your own, but then realizing that you're also inspiring other people along the way. And so, you're not selfish. You're able to pull people along with you and drop them off at their destination.
Ooh, I like that. I really do like that. Thank you so much, Tiffini. Can you tell our dream drivers where they can find you online, or if they want to learn more about Latched and Hooked and check out some of your products as well?
Sure. They can find Latched and Hooked at latchedandhooked.com, and that's LATCHEDANDHOOKED. And we are on social media at Latched, the letter N, and then Hooked. And so we're on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube. Look us up. We definitely love to connect with you. And if you want to connect with me personally, I'm at Tiffini Gatlin.
And I'll link to all that stuff in our show notes and our episode notes. So if you guys want to get more information, just go to our website, dreamsanddrive.com, click on this episode, and you can find everything you need there. Tiffini, thank you so much. It has been a pleasure talking to you. And I know this will not be the last time that we speak. I hope that this is just the beginning of a great relationship.
Oh my God, I really hope so. This was so fun. And I hope that I said something that someone can resonate with. But thank you so much for having me.
All right, so that's a wrap for our episode with Tiffini. I hope that you enjoyed hearing her dream driving journey as well as her keys to success. So what did you guys think of this episode? If you loved it, if you felt inspired, if you felt motivated, I would love if you shared this with a friend, right? The best thing you could do is to pay this inspiration and motivation forward. Share this episode on social by screenshotting and reposting or sharing the link. You can do so on Twitter, Instagram stories. I love when you guys do that. I always holler back when you guys tag us. And also Facebook. Remember, we are Dreams and Drive across the board, and make sure to use the hashtag Dreams and Drive when you're sharing as well. And if you are not already part of our Dreams and Drive Facebook group, what are you waiting for? All you have to do is search Dreams and Drive Mastermind on Facebook, or just go to dreamsanddrive.com/Facebook to sign up and request access. And remember, show notes are available at dreamsanddrive.com as well, and just click on episode 110. Lastly, thank you to everyone who is subscribing via their podcast players and everyone who has left us ratings on Apple Podcasts. I really do appreciate it. If you want to go on over and leave one, please do so. A review is always welcome. A rating is always welcome. Let other people know what you think about this podcast, because as people are going through Apple Podcasts, they're looking at the reviews, they're looking at the ratings, and it's a great way for us to boost our credibility and also to boost our rankings in the Apple Podcast sphere. I actually have a request before we sign off today. I need some inspiration, you guys. I've just been feeling in this weird funk. I don't know if I've just gotten into the groove of podcasting, if it's just kind of, not that I'm getting tired of it, but I definitely feel like I want to change things up a little bit. So let me know your suggestions. If you have any suggestions or feedback or some things that I can do to kind of, spice up the content, to surprise you guys, to intrigue you in a different way that you might not be intrigued right now, I would love to hear those suggestions. You can send me a message on Instagram, just tag Dreams and Drive or message Dreams and Drive, or you can email me personally at raina@dreamsanddrive.com. I love to read emails, so just send me your ideas. I really, really appreciate it, you guys. Keep dreaming, keep driving, and we'll chat again in episode 111.